Hey there, this is Natalie, and welcome to another dive into interesting stories from Reddit. If you like this type of video, please subscribe to the channel for more, and consider taking a look at some of the other videos you can find here. This is a fairly new channel, and I really want to get it monetized. So anytime you spend listening to these wild Reddit stories really helps me out. Now, let's get started. Now, here's a story with full updates up to conclusion, entitled, "Am I overreacting to my girlfriend's experience of assaulting homeless people in the past?" This was originally posted by user SilverEffective441 to the subreddit Am I Overreacting? And OP begins, "So, I've been dating my girlfriend for like 9 months. She just recently turned 26 and we were celebrating her birthday. At the end of the night, we were both kind of drunk and were talking about our craziest stories from college. She said that her boyfriend at the time and a friend group of guys and girls would sometimes go out at night and mess with homeless dudes, including beating them up with bats. She also referred to them as junkies and generally dehumanizing terms about them, and she even mentioned that it was great stress relief. She can get pretty crazy sometimes and has a bit of a mean streak, honestly, but it really shocked me when she said this. I thought she was joking because she was laughing while telling the story, but as I acted skeptical, she kept affirming it was true. I just played along and kind of laughed, thinking she was just drunk. The next day it still bothered me subconsciously, so I asked her again about it casually, and she said, yeah, it was true. The thing that disturbed me though was that there was no remorse. She told the story like a lol, good old times kind of story. I think if she was embarrassed about it, I would have felt different. I still tried to ignore it over the next days, but I obviously wasn't able to, because I ended up researching online for information about similar crimes in that city at that time. I didn't find anything, by the way. Unfortunately, I definitely believe her at this point though. She never does these kinds of elaborate jokes over days, plus I can just tell she's being truthful, just knowing her. Anyway, like I said, it continued to bother me, so I brought it up one more time a couple of days later. This time I was more serious, basically just straight up asking how she could not feel bad about that. I was honestly just curious. She got kind of pissed this time. She asked me if it turns me on, and that's why I keep bothering her about it. I said no, but I just couldn't imagine doing something like that myself, so that's why I'm asking. Then she started saying stuff like, why are you judging me about stuff that happened years ago? And saying it's none of my business who she slept with back then, or anything else about her life. That's when it occurred to me that she might have thought I was jealous or something about her ex, since he was apparently one of the guys in that group. She might think I'm trying to guilt trip her out of jealousy related to him or something, which I'm not. But anyway, that was how it ended, and I'm obviously not going to bring it up again. Even though I honestly considered breaking up over this, I kind of saw where she was coming from in that it was a long time ago, and maybe I'm being kind of a dick for judging her over this. What do you think? I'm no saint at all, but I can't help that it bothers me. I can't look at her in the same way now, and I really think it might be over. Thanks for your advice." Wow, this one is crazy. I'm actually reading this one live for the first time, so I don't know whether he breaks up with her in the end or not yet. But for someone to just come out with that as a kind of crazy college story, and not even see why that might concern the person they're dating, especially when there's no shame or embarrassment or remorse about it, that is just wild. There are some relevant comments before we get to the updates though. Firstly, user Pixie Kayla says, "No, but why wasn't this a deal breaker for you?" OP replies, "I think it was. I'm just saying I was second guessing it. It's hard to process." Virtual Discipline 1 says, "Why the frick are you with an evil person like that? Damn bro, you're a piece of poo also." OP says, "Sorry, I'm not trying to justify it. It's just really hard for me. But people do change. I was a totally different person in college too. This would be so much easier for me if she was just sorry about it." And another user, Ponto Ponyo, chips in on this thread saying, "But she's not sorry. She's mad you keep bringing it up and is acting like the dude she did those horrific things with is the problem, not the assault and battery on innocent people. This shouldn't be hard, dude." And the top comment was from Mountain Guava 2877, who says, "She's a psychopath. She admits to violently attacking people. You aren't married. You can leave. Knowing she's capable of this, you are underreacting by staying with her. One day she could easily do something like that to you, so take precautions when you leave." Yeah, you know who else liked to mess with homeless people? Patrick Bateman. Anyway, we have the update from 1 week later, which says, "I just wanted to let everyone know that I broke up with my girlfriend. I absolutely do not condone any violence against unhoused people. That's the reason I asked about it, because it seriously shocked me. But then everyone turned it on me and acted like I was condoning it. I'm sorry, but it just takes a lot of time to process when you're in a relationship with someone. You can't just end it like that. Plus, I try to be really mindful of things like shaming women for past mistakes in relationships. The last thing I want to be is one of those guys." And when she accused me of that herself, I started believing I may be wrong. But anyway, when I told her we were going to have to break up because of what she told me, she actually looked shocked. I think she believed I was joking at first, but I straight up told her how wrong she was for doing that, which I hadn't had the courage to do before. I said how she could have even killed one of those guys and not known it, etc. She didn't have much to say, just looking really angry, honestly. But anyway, once I showed I was serious, she started guilt-tripping me about how I'm trying to shame her for her past, etc., the same point she'd made before. But in the end, she started insulting me really harshly, and eventually turned it around on me, and it was like she was breaking up with me instead. However she wants to think of it is fine with me. Some of the things she said were really hurtful, if I'm being honest, but I know she was just angry, and I just have to keep reminding myself that I did the right thing. As for reporting the crimes, like some people said, I did try, but I had trouble talking to a person at that police department over the phone. It's across the country from where I am. The phone recording tells me to file online reports. The online form asks me if I know who did the crime, and when I check yes, it tells me I have to file the report on the phone or in person. Anyway, I'm still working on that, but it seems like there's a lot of bureaucracy to go through. Sorry for not responding to a lot of you before, but I was really overwhelmed. Even though this isn't my main account, I want people to know I did the right thing. Take care." Yeah, he was definitely right to break up with her. I think even if she'd done something that wasn't quite as blatantly terrible, but it was something that did continue to bother him, the relationship is just not going to be the same again when he's constantly consumed by thinking about something she did in the past. That he's just never going to be able to approve of. As for filing police reports, I doubt he's really going to get anywhere with that. The crimes happened many years ago, and due to the transient nature of people who are currently unhoused, it may even be hard to find the victims at this point. Because hopefully they have been able to find homes by now. But I can see why other people commenting on this post did feel like there should be some kind of justice served for, violently beating people up with baseball bats. Still, what do you guys think? Would you be able to get over a confession like this from somebody you were in a relationship with? Would it change anything for you if they were sorry or ashamed of what they did? Let me know in the comments. Now, here we have a concluded story from r/Am I the Butthole? Originally posted by user IndependentPut8752. And this one's entitled, "Am I the butthole for telling my brother's girlfriend that he had a vasectomy when she was talking about their plans to settle down and have a family?" And it begins, "My brother Mark, 40, won the lottery when he was 20. It was $1,000 a week for life. He was young and wanted to travel. He dropped out of school and has spent his entire adulthood basically seeing the world. He comes home to visit every few years and we FaceTime with him when he's near a signal. He doesn't travel first class or stay at expensive resorts, so he's actually built up some nice savings. He came home with a girlfriend, Hayley, 28, this year. They met when they got stuck in South America during the pandemic. She's been travelling since she graduated from university, and she works out of a laptop. I, female 54, live in the same city where I was born. I love it here. I love being close to my parents and my grandchildren and most of my siblings. Mark hated being the youngest of 8 and always swore he would not have kids. Our parents were older when they had him, and they didn't have the energy for him, truth be told. Mark came home when he was 30 and told us all that he had a vasectomy and that he would not be contributing to the world population. Hayley is a pretty young thing, and she's also intelligent and sweet. I can understand why anyone would fall in love with her. We were having a family barbecue to celebrate Mark being in town. There were maybe 30 people in my parents' yard and house. I was talking to Hayley about her future plans, now that the world opened up again. She said that she was ready to settle down and start a family. I asked if they were planning on adopting from one of the countries that they'd travelled to, or if they would try in North America. She said they'd talked about it and would be having at least one child of their own. This may be where I messed up. I asked where Mark got his vasectomy reversed, or if they were having in vitro fertilisation. I know they can harvest sperm from a testicle even after a vasectomy. She went very quiet and went over to Mark. They spoke and they left. Mark called me later that night to scream at me for ruining his life. He hadn't told her, and he was planning on just continuing to travel and maybe adopt if they decided on it. He said I shared private medical information and that he never wanted to see me again. I apologised over and over. I seriously had no way of knowing that he was planning a future with this girl without telling her a pretty big piece of the puzzle might be missing. I feel bad for him, but I think he should have told her. I think she's not the butthole because it was something that she just assumed they would have discussed. From the title, I thought it might be one of those where she'd intentionally told the girlfriend something that she knew her brother was keeping a secret. But it seems like maybe she was just getting into a conversation and asking nosy questions, as people tend to do when you're introduced to a boyfriend or girlfriend's new family. Yes, I do think the brother was wrong not to inform his girlfriend about that situation, though I do feel like it should still really be his business. It could be that he's not as sure about the relationship as his sister believes he is, and that maybe they're not as serious as the girlfriend implied to her. Maybe he's planning to get the vasectomy reversed, but that's a conversation he hasn't had with his girlfriend yet. Or maybe he is just stringing her along and he still doesn't want children, which, that is kind of a bad thing to do to someone. Though I can't blame him for liking his current lifestyle and not really being into the idea of having children himself anyway. So I may be a little bit biased there. Still, we do have an update on this. But first, the relevant comments to the original post. Broad Discipline 2360 says, "Not the butthole. Your brother is a self-centered jerk. He was just going to lie and string that poor girl along. Thank you so much for telling her the truth, even if it was an accident. God, what a butt your brother is. Shame on him. Please tell everyone he dates that he's had a vasectomy." OP replies, "He's usually not in the country." OP on how old the girlfriend was when her brother met her. She says, "I think she was 25 when they met." Acceptable Clue 1541 says, "I mean, did you slip up, or did you know you were kicking a wasp's nest?" OP replies, "They've been together for almost 3 years and are planning one biological kid. I assumed it must have come up." Violet Llewellyn says, "So they talked about it and he didn't bring it up on his own terms at all? Wouldn't that have been the time for him to tell his partner about the vasectomy?" And there is an update from 1 year later, where OP says, "My brother now refuses to visit our parents if I'm around because I accidentally told his girlfriend at the time that he had a vasectomy when she told me that they were trying for kids. So it wasn't that he was planning on reversing his vasectomy or anything. He wanted to do the same as that poor woman's boyfriend. just lead her on until it was too late for her to have kids. And by that poor woman, she's referring to another post that she linked to. He came by this summer with his girlfriend and I stayed away. I guess he told this one that he and I have a bad relationship and that I'm jealous of his riches, LOL, after his lottery win. I'm not going to do anything about it, but I hope she finds out before he screws her future as well. Sort of a funny thing though, his lottery money may run out soon. It turns out that he should have paid more attention. The money he won was $1,000 a week for life, was actually only for 25 years. He does have savings, so he shouldn't be destitute or anything, but he also does not have a pension or anything. I'm interested to see what happens in 4 years. So it sounds like the girlfriend in the original post did break up with him over this. But I don't really like how OP just assumes that any woman that he gets in a relationship with is going to want to have children. I mean, personally, if I started dating a guy and he said he'd had a vasectomy, I would see that as a bonus. And with the falling birth rates around the world, I can't be the only one. Clearly he's still really bitter about her telling the first girlfriend the situation and is holding a grudge by not even visiting her parents anymore, which isn't very mature. But I think it's kind of petty of her to be happy that he's going to run out of money in a few years. I feel like she just clearly doesn't approve of his lifestyle in general. And that may be another factor in why he doesn't really want to have a continued relationship with her. In addition to the fact that she caused his breakup with his other girlfriend. Though in that situation, I do think she was completely justified and it was, of course, an accident. So yeah, I definitely don't think she's the butthole in this story. But I do feel like there may be a bit more to the relationship with her and her brother than just this one incident. They sound like very different people where, you know, he spent the last 20 years travelling the world and she's stayed close to the family, had children and grandchildren, probably worked very hard for the money that he got for free. And when your lifestyle choices are that opposite, you know, some families would kind of welcome the differences between each other and find each other's lives interesting and exciting. But other families might just kind of both be looking down on each other's choices. And I kind of feel like that's what's happening here. Still, there are some relevant comments to this update. Kissable Amelia says, "You might have spilled the beans, but it looks like his secret was bound to come out sooner or later anyway. It's cool that you're not trying to get involved, but hoping his girlfriend finds out shows you still care about her." Dax and Mom 5 says, "Where are your parents on this? If I knew my sons were this manipulative and deceitful, I'd be disgusted. I'd also be telling every single woman he brings home, which means they'd vanish, I'm sure." And again, that is kind of assuming that every single woman that gets involved in a new relationship is expecting to have children out of it. Women he meets with his travelling around the world kind of lifestyle may also be the kind that are more predisposed to wanting to continue that lifestyle and not settle down and have children. So maybe he just needs to find the right person. Rather than, you know, finding women who do want to start a family and lying to them until the relationship eventually runs its course, or they find out and break up with him. He was obviously manipulative and deceitful with the first girlfriend, but we don't know anything about the current girlfriend. And he may well have learned from that experience that if it's a relationship that he expects to last, rather than something more casual, things simply won't work out unless he's honest about his vasectomy situation. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. That's all for this video, but look out for more coming very soon. Have a great rest of your day or evening out there, and I'll see you next time.